The Shulchan Aruch writes in Siman Reish Lamed Gimel regarding the time of Tfilat HaMincha. So he writes like this: Mi she'itpalel Tfilat HaMincha lachar vav shot mechza u'lemala yatsa. If a person prays Mincha after 6.5 hours into the day, which is a half an hour after Chatzot Yom, which today is around 1:32, just to put it in perspective, he's yatsa. It sounds like it's b'diavad. B'diavad you yotze if you pray Mincha by Mincha Gedolah, which is what we call Mincha Gedolah, which is today at 1:32 in New York City. Ve'ikar zmana, however, the main time is mitet sha'ot u'mechza, from 9.5 hours and on, ad alayla, le'Rabanan or le'Yehuda ad plaga mincha. Okay, we'll leave that for maybe tomorrow or the next day. I want to just focus for now on the beginning of the halakha. So the Shulchan Aruch paskins that the ikar zman of praying mincha is from the time called mincha ktana. Mincha ktana is today around 5:15. Around 5:15ish is Mincha Ktana, which is 9.5 hours into the day, as opposed to 6.5 hours into the day. And the reason why it's a big difference between 1:30 and 5:15 is because the Shmot Zmaniot at the longer hours, because the day is longer. So you have basically a big hefresh between the L'chatchila time to pray Mincha, which is after 5:15 today, versus the earlier time, the b'diavad time of praying Mincha, which is going to be at 1:30. So why is it lechatchila b'diavad? The Mishnah Berurah explains is that we know Tfilat HaMincha is connected the Tamid Shel Bein Arbaim, the Korban Tamid that was born in the Beit HaMikdash in the afternoon, and since the time Midoraita to slaughter it was after the 6.5 hours, that's why that's the earliest time to bring it. But usually they would bring the Korbanot. They would bring, because we know after the Korban Shel Tamid Shel Bein Arbaim, they wouldn't be able to bring any other type of Korbanim. So they would usually bring this Korban after the 9.5 hours into the day, towards the evening, except certain occasions when they would do it earlier. So that's why if you want to go and remodel the korban of the Tamid Shel Bein Arbaim, which is the Tfilat HaMincha is connected, is corresponding to that korban, we want to do it at the most ideal time, which is after the 9.5 hours. But b'diavad, you can say a person can already pray at Mincha Gedolah. Now there's a machloket in the Achronim if a person has the opportunity to pray with a minyan at 5:15, or to pray or he can pray with a minyan earlier, or he's only going to be able to pray biyachid after 5:15. Should he pray with a minyan at 1:30 if he's not going to have a minyan later, or should he pray biyachid and pray with the lechatchila time? The Or L'Tzion holds, the Or L'Tzion paskins, that a person should pray biyachid after 5:15 and not pray with the minyan at 1:30. That's how far the Or L'Tzion goes. However, the Yekuyasef argues and he holds no. It doesn't go that far. L'chatchila, a person should pray after 5:15, but if he has a minyan earlier and he's not going to have a minyan later, then he can pray earlier. Also, another reason to pray earlier is what we spoke about the past few days, about having a seudah before praying mincha. We know, like we said yesterday, even though the minhag is like the Rama, according to Shulchan Aruch, even a seudah ktana, regular seudah of a kibetzav mezonot, kibetzav hamutzi, requires a person to pray mincha prior. So if a person has the opportunity to pray mincha at 1:30, and then he can have a seudah after that, bevadai, a person should do that to be yotze that opinion that a person would not have run into the issue of having a seudah before praying mincha. So there is a lechatchila to pray mincha after mincha ktana, after 5:15 on a day like today. But if a person b'shat hatzorech, if there's a need to pray earlier, that 5:15 doesn't come on the expense of praying without a minyan, according to the Yekuyasef, which means a person should pray with a minyan at 1:30, or if he has to eat a seudah, also pray earlier at 1:30 and not pray biyachid after 5:15. And that's not that strong to negate the idea of praying with a minyan. B'chavod.